More than a month after The Atlantic broke the story that top U.S. officials were using the commercial messaging app Signal to share military attack plans, the Trump administration's handling of sensitive data is still under scrutiny. Hackers targeted another app used by high-ranking Trump officials known as Telemessage, and also stole passenger information from one of the main airlines used by the White House to deport migrants. Joseph Cox is the co-founder of 404 Media, which has investigated these hacks. Joseph, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with your investigation into the hack on the deportation flights. What information was accessed and why is it valuable?
So, GlobalX is one of the primary airlines that ICE uses to deport people. It did this during the previous administration, it's doing it during this one as well. When a hacker recently targeted GlobalX, it took flight information, which is not that valuable because that's already publicly available. But some really interesting details they did manage to get were these passenger lists, which actually tell us who was on each of these flights. And of course, that is not publicly available information.
So that means information about the specific passengers.
Yeah, information about the specific passengers on each flight is what the hacker obtained and then sent to us and other journalists as well. And that allows us to determine, well, who exactly has been sent to each individual country. And for example, there was a internal government list of people sent to the El Salvador mega prison that was published by CBS. But if we go through the flights like we did at 404 Media, we actually get more names of people who've been sent to the country as well on those same dates.
You've also reported on the hacking of Telemessage, an app used by Trump administration officials to back up copies of their chats. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so over the weekend, a hacker targeted Telemessage, which is a clone of Signal, this very popular secure messaging app that lots of people may be familiar with. To be clear, it's not exactly the same as Signal. Signal remains very much secure, and people use that for secure communication all of the time. This was making copies of all of the messages used by whichever Trump officials happen to be using it to comply with, government regulations over keeping copies of their messages. A hacker managed to break in and actually get the content of group chats, direct messages, and then send them to us as journalists as well. I haven't seen, for example, Mike Waltz's, the then National Security Advisor's messages, but we did see messages belonging to other users of Telemessage, and just goes to show really how sensitive this data is, and it could easily fall into the wrong hands.
Meanwhile, I also want to ask you about the Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, run by Elon Musk, because they're trying to create a centralized hub of personal data about millions of Americans. And security experts have raised alarms about this and the collection of this information because they say it potentially bypasses data sharing protocols. Would this make Americans' personal information more susceptible to hacks?
I think there's an inherent risk in bringing more data together that's usually siloed. It could be secure in one location, then another. If you break down those firewalls between different agencies and then make it much more easily accessible to DOGE or agencies working with DOGE, that does potentially introduce more security risk and vulnerabilities. So either DOGE itself or outside hackers could potentially get into as well.
And lastly, big picture, Joseph, when we're looking at all this, the hacks as well as what DOGE is doing, what does it say about the handling of sensitive data and Americans' personal data by this administration?
I think a lot of this shows the data is being handled in a pretty sloppy fashion, to be frank, with the Doge stuff breaking down these firewalls, with Mike Waltz and other national security officials using Signal, then using this insecure version, and then hackers targeting those systems and GlobalX. I mean, it's very concerning that this really sensitive information and communications, I mean, it already is falling into the hands of third parties as well.
Joseph Cox of 404 Media, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.